Hi, guys. Welcome back to another episode of This Feels Holy. I'm your host, Danna-Gift, and I have been absent for a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Life has been lifing pretty hard. There's so much going on in the world today, and honestly, so much going on in my own personal life that I have felt very uninspired to share. I do my best to show up honestly, authentically. I share with you guys a lot that is going on in my life, more than most. And although I feel fairly comfortable with sharing most of it, that doesn't necessarily mean I always feel like sharing all of it. Which is perfectly fine. We're human, and I think we all need to have our own boundaries and respect our own personal boundaries. That's how we stay sane. And so today I actually wanted to talk about how to stay sane in an insane world, how to protect your own boundaries, and not necessarily protect, but more so make sure you keep sacred those specific things that keep you grounded. So there's a little bit of a difference. One comes from a place of fear and scarcity and feeling like you have to have these things in order to maintain a healthy lifestyle. The other comes from a place of doing your best to make sure that you add these practices into your life to make sure that you can stay grounded 90% of the time. Because let's face it, no one's 100% perfect all the time. No one can stay 100% grounded. People are going to get set off. Things happen in life: grief, sorrow, anger, resentment, like all sorts of emotions. We're human, we're emotional beings. The first thing I want to address is the state of the world today. The state of the world is kind of crazy. We all know about the Charlie Kirk tragedy, the assassination of him, and honestly, since that has happened, there has been an entire shift in the world that I personally feel. And if you're Christian, which most likely you are Christian, if you're watching this channel, or at least like kind of on the edge of just curious with God, I'm sure you feel it too, because the world, as much as we are living in our own space, we are all very much connected. And when something tragic like that happens with a person who has touched the lives of many, it often affects and impacts a lot of us. Now, I will never understand why God takes away a life. I won't even say that it's God who does it, because oftentimes it's the devil who creates this death and chaos and fear. But I can see the good that is coming from it, because God takes those things that the enemy meant for bad and he turns it to good. And so I'm seeing the world shift in a very positive light, meaning to say Christianity is starting to be more bold in our faith and proclaiming what we actually believe in. Truth is being spoken. People are screaming for freedom of speech, which is really what Charlie Kirk stood for. So I am grateful to be seeing that all of this is happening in the world. Obviously, very sad about Charlie Kirk's death, and I pray for his family. I pray for the healing of his family. Nobody should have to witness their father or husband being shot in front of them. I saw the video and I honestly wish I didn't, but my husband sent it to me without my consent. I opened it and that was like one of the first things I saw. And it was from a very visual and vulgar angle, and just darkness. I can't unsee it. The imagery replays in my mind. And it was brutal. And so, yeah, I digress. I don't want to get too far into those topics. But just know that I am seeing that the world is shifting. But with that, there's also a lot of negativity in the world today, which is where I was getting at. Is social media right now is steamed up with, yes, some positive things, but a lot of it is negative. A lot of it's political. A lot of it's just heavy and not like the fun, light stuff right now. And that's fine, right? But again, this is about protecting your energy and finding and grounding yourself in the things that are going to keep you balanced and centered, and your mind a clean, clear space to actually think straight and not be filled with the negativity. So let's talk about some things that I have personally implemented into my life. And a little bit of background, I am currently in the process of becoming a full stay-at-home mom. I'm a stay-at-home wife at this moment, but I do work from home, and I still do need to work from home. However, my husband is working like 16 hours a day. He leaves at 4 a.m., comes back at 8 p.m. We share a vehicle, so I do not get to really leave the house. He comes home early, maybe on Tuesdays and Fridays, where I can use the vehicle. And I go to the gym to work out. But overall, my sanity has been challenged a lot this last couple of weeks. He just started this job probably about a month ago. And something that I have personally been dealing with is my sanity, the amount of isolation that God has placed me in, and also just the ability to consume when I shouldn't consume. So I have been back and forth through this habit of consumption, over consuming, and then getting stuck into a negative headspace, comparison, darkness, and all of that. And then I realize that I'm going down this downward spiral, and I have to pick myself back up, and then I have to remember to implement these rules. So these are the rules that have helped me to reground myself when I find myself spiraling. Sometimes you have to put a time limit on your phone, on these apps. Like I have mine at an hour time limit to remind myself, like, hey, you've been on this app for too long, like time to get off. Okay, get off. Sometimes you have to create these boundaries and recognize it. And the sooner you recognize it, the easier it is to flip flop to the other side of positivity. So the first thing that I started doing was making sure that I do not wake up and scroll my phone. I know that this is like one of the most basic things that you can probably hear from any guru, personal development way, yada, yada. Okay. But they're saying it for a reason, because your mind is in I think it's a beta wave state. I could be saying this wrong. I always get them confused, but it's in a very sensitive, absorbent state in the first thing in the morning. So your mind, if you started off with negativity, which you never know what you're going to get online, right? If you go on TikTok, you have no idea what you're going to scroll into. It's like roulette. It's like a Russian roulette. You could get hit with the really positive note, or you can get hit with a lot of negativity, but most likely than not, right now, you'll probably get hit with some negativity. So if you start your day off like that, it can have a tendency to touch the rest of your day, and you'll be impacted by that for the rest of your day. Same thing if you open your phone and you check your email, right? Maybe you have a negative email from a coworker who's like, hey, your quota is not up and blah, blah, blah. Like it could be so many different things that could change your state. And so rather than opening up your phone and opening up your possibility of starting your day off in a negative state, I just put the phone away. I don't touch it. It is not in my hands. I mean, I do keep it near my bedside because I wake up throughout the night and I have to check, and I'm like, why am I awake at 2 a.m.? Let me try and go back to sleep. Because otherwise, if I don't know what time it is, I just get up and I start doing things, and it's like 1 o'clock in the morning, and that's a problem. So especially being pregnant, like I need to sleep more. But overall, I do not open my phone. I do not scroll. If I do, I'm not hard on myself, but I still do my best not to, because it is an addiction. It is easy to fall into the trap of opening up your phone and just like scrolling even for a second, and you get sucked into this portal. I can't explain how easy it is to get sucked into a portal, but I'm pretty sure that you know what that feels like, where you're like, oh, I meant to just check one thing out online, and suddenly you're scrolling for like 30 minutes to an hour. It's a problem. It's an addiction. So Rather than play with it, I just put my phone away and I allow myself to start my morning off slow. I start my coffee. I go into the Bible. I listen to worship music. I go and sit in prayer. Like all of these things to make sure that I'm feeding my soul and not my flesh first, right? I'm allowing myself to ease into my morning, to choose to set the tone in a very peaceful manner. I personally like to start my day with the Bible. Doesn't matter if I'm not feeling it or like I'm not understanding, I will always open up the Bible, even if it's just a tiny passage. At least I know that I'm setting the foundation that I find valuable right from the get-go. Like if I don't feel like getting out of bed as well, if I'm not ready to, open up my Bible and go sit in my little Bible chair, this is actually like my little Bible reading area as well. Then I will lay there and be in prayer. I'll lay in bed and pray. And that seems to be really meditative for me. And sometimes it helps me actually go back to sleep, especially if I'm up at 2 a.m. So whatever works for you, find what brings you peace in the morning. Do not allow any person to dictate how your morning starts off. And I know some of you have kids, which I'm about to experience what that life is like to wake up to your kids and having to tend to these other things. If it is something where you do have to tend to, like a crying baby, then of course, obviously don't just ignore them, but try your best to set yourself up for success, meaning to say, maybe you wake up a little bit earlier and find some time to yourself. And if you can't set a schedule, then make sure you get back to it after you do the things that you need to do. So always try and bring yourself back to center and try and start your morning off in the best peaceful way possible. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to take off my pants. I have these cute little, they're matching, right? But like they're so tight. Let me just give me a second here. They're restricting my airway. Whew, I tell you what, literally nothing fits me anymore. I mean, there's like obviously all the stretchy clothes, but I feel like I'm getting pretty big pretty quickly, and not in a way that like scares me, but I am kind of tiny. And so the fact that I'm already up 10 pounds and I'm 14 weeks, I'm like, I can't breathe. Anyways, let's get back to the lessons here. Okay, so have digital detox moments. This is number 2. Kind of like the same thing in the first tip that I gave you is stay away from your phone. As much as I love social media, obviously I love posting and creating videos, the scroll can absolutely impact you. So I have been trying, and not successfully, I must admit, to do a full 2-week detox. And I am so addicted to my phone. It is very hard for me to put it down, especially because I do post daily. So it is a little bit harder for me. Not to excuse myself, because I'd like to think that I have a lot more self-control in that. But just putting the phone down throughout the day. Like I find myself bringing my phone to the toilet and scrolling for those couple of minutes. I find myself sitting and eating breakfast alone, and I'll open up my phone and like scroll while I eat. So small things like choosing to do one thing at a time instead of trying to multitask. Like stop trying to eat and scroll. Stop trying to scroll while on the toilet. Stop trying to do multiple things at once, and instead try to focus on one thing. It's going to help improve your focus, right? Because our mind, if you can train it to focus on one thing, it actually starts to train your brain to focus longer. But it's also just good for your mental state. Like I mentioned earlier, it really is a Russian roulette, whatever, on social media, especially right now. You can't control what you see. And so being specific and intentional with the times that you do decide to scroll. Like I've gone so far as to set my scroll times, my leisure scroll times from this time to this time, and it ends at this time, and I'll set a timer. That's how extreme I had to personally get with my scroll, because it's so easy to just open up your phone and get lost in the sauce. So I personally think that if you could set yourself a goal to just detox, even for a week, off of social media, if you have that ability to do it and you like, it's not part of your job that you have to do it, then do it. Like I absolutely would. And nothing is going to happen during that time. You're not going to miss anything. You might think so. You might have some FOMO, but like at the end of the day, does it really matter that you knew about XYZ the last week? Does it change your living situation? Does it change your life right now? Probably not. So just have some detox moments. Be mindful of when you open up your phone instead of being mindless. And which leads me to number 3, do the things that feed your spirit. So read a book, listen to an audible, read the Bible, paint, do an activity, something that is creative. Do something other than consume. Because even if it's podcasts that you really, really love, that can still cloud your mind. And eventually you start getting this, I don't know, it's like a constant distracted state where you have to have noise filling every empty space. Like, try and do things that actually feed your spirit. Yes, I get reading is, I guess, a form of consumption, but it's different for some reason. Like, you have to stay a lot more focused when you read. And so just doing things that kind of get you lost, that can allow you to create without having to hear all the clutter of the outside world is going to be so powerful. And honestly, like, if you could find a good personal development or self-help book, something that is going to encourage more positive thoughts, encourage a skill set development, something to improve yourself, you're going to be loads off better than just scrolling on social media. You can only get so much out of a podcast. And if you listen to the same podcast, you start to just develop that person's train thought, which is not always a bad thing, but like, we're free thinkers. We should be thinking freely on our own without having to listen to other people's opinions to develop our own. Like, yes, gather a couple of those things to develop your own opinion. But overall, this is the problem that we see with the world today is we're so busy consuming. We're not busy enough critical thinking, where we're just gathering all of these things from different resources and then regurgitating what we've learned without knowing how we truly feel about the situation. This is what I'm seeing across the board with the Charlie Kirk situation. People are getting snippets and clips from what he said in some of his debates and then listening to other viewpoints and then regurgitating it into something that he didn't actually say. And like, they're just repeating what they think they heard, but it's not the reality. It's like they missed the entirety of the debate. And so we don't want to do that, right? We want to actually be educated. We want to actually inform ourselves of the world in its entirety. And that's the problem is, like, again, with social media, our minds just click, 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 click into the next thing. And we're not gathering the full picture. And so allowing things that actually feed your spirit and allowing you to stay in a focused state, doing one thing at a time, is going to severely improve your focus, your brain power, your emotional intelligence, your intelligence overall, like your sanity. Okay. This is what's going to cause you to actually critically think on your own when you're not just consuming and getting hit and bombarded with all this noise. So feed your spirit, not your flesh first. And you'll be surprised, like, the things you can learn when you choose not to scroll. Like, I'm starting to open up books now a little bit more than I am scrolling, and it's been doing wonders for my mental state. I'm like, oh, well, because it's all full of positive things that are a little bit more in my control. Like, I can control what I'm learning today, and I'm choosing to know the power of words, right? Like, that's just an example, but you can choose the state of your mind. I mean, you can't always control your emotions, but you can choose how you react to those emotions. And so if you're feeling bombarded with the negative thoughts, negative comparison, all of those things, then you got to fight back to beat it over with the positivity. And it's like smacking it with a baseball bat of positivity, right? Like, you got to combat it instead of just allowing it to consume you. So that is the third one. Next, create life-giving routines. Routines, guys, we are creatures of habit. We love having routines. And so there are certain things that you can do every single day that can ground you. For me, I'm starting to realize, like, actually washing my face and doing skincare and like putting on a cute outfit, that brings me joy. That brings me into groundedness. I stop looking at myself and being like, and now I look at myself, I'm like, oh, she's still cute. Like, she's still cute. She's pregnant. She's getting big, but she's still cute. You know, like small things like that. It doesn't have to be getting ready for you, but like, and I personally don't like to get ready all the time. That's a lot of work. But I do know that some of these things actually do ground me. So my skincare routine, something that I enjoy doing every single day. It makes me feel good. I feel like a princess, like a pretty, pretty princess. And I just feel more girly and feminine, and that makes me feel joy. And same thing with like journaling, right? When I find myself in a routine of journaling, well, this is a disclaimer. Sometimes I cannot stand journaling when I'm going through it, because I will go on this like rant and it ends up turning into like this negative rant that actually puts me in a more negative state. So that's neither here nor there, but I just thought I'd just be honest with you that journaling doesn't always work for me. And the last thing that I'm going to say, so we can wrap up this video, is surrounding yourself with the right crowd, with the right people, with the right thought patterns, right? If you're hanging out with somebody who is always negative, always having a bad day, always has something going on in their life, as much as you want to be their friend and be there for them while they're going through it, it's kind of hard for you to hold space if you're also going through your own things, right? So as much as you love those people, you have to protect your own space and energy. If those people are constantly being a weight and bringing you down, you cannot allow them to sink the entire ship. Like, yes, be a good friend, hold space for them, but also respect your boundaries first, because you cannot pour into somebody else's cup if your cup is empty. And so just choosing who you surround yourself with, be mindful of the friends that actually make you feel fulfilled at the end of the day, at the end of your conversations, right? Instead of the ones that make you feel like you just poured out all of your energy and you feel exhausted. And you know the difference, right? Like, you can go to one friend's house and then after you've hung out with them, you're like, oh my God, I knew I needed that. I wanted to hang out with this buddy, blah, blah, blah. But then you have those friends that like, you're like, oh, I don't know. I feel exhausted and I'm tired. And you even debate on like hanging out with them again the next time, because you're just like, the last time was so exhausting. I just don't know what to do, and blah, blah, blah. So, okay. And if you don't know, ask yourself those questions, because if you personally are even asking, like, does my friend actually fulfill my cup? Most likely they're not filling your cup. Okay. Because if you have to ask that question, you probably already know, and you're just fighting to accept the reality that that person is kind of a Debbie Downer. So yeah, just being honest. Okay. And the right people will fill your cup in the most positive way. They can pour into you. They make you feel seen. They share in your sympathy. There's just so much that a positive friend group can do for you. I personally do not have the physical state of my friends right now, because we just moved out here to Miami and we're kind of far from like the city, and we haven't had a chance to really make any friends because we've been trying to get out of this financial bind. It's been this whole thing. But even jumping on the phone with friends on FaceTime, even just a phone call, that pours into you. And remember to really truly lean into your community when you are having times of darkness, insanity. Have like those one or two friends that you feel really comfortable sharing everything with, and allow yourself the company. Like, I am guilty of this. A lot of the times I will isolate and choose to isolate because I'm like, oh, I don't feel like talking to anybody. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. I don't want to weigh anybody down, blah, blah, blah. Like, I think this to myself. But when I actually reverse the tables, and I think of how my friends, or I think of how I receive my friends when they come to me with some of their problems, sometimes I'm like, I don't mind holding space for them. Now, obviously, there's a limit. Like I was mentioning before, like you don't always want to be a Debbie Downer, but those friends, more likely than not, are going to be happy to receive you without thinking that you're a burden. I think that's just your old programming or your own beliefs that have developed when you were younger. Maybe you used to try and tell your problems to somebody before and it wasn't received well. And so now you're telling yourself, I'm a burden, but that's not the case. Remember, there's people out there who can actually hold space for you, who are strong enough to hold space for you, and just allow your community to work for you. Okay, that's why they're there for you. That's why they're your friends. Those are some of the basic ways that I have been doing my best to keep myself grounded. And I try to stay busy. I haven't been feeling as motivated to post and show up online, and I'm so confused about the direction of where I want this podcast to go or where I want my own personal brand to go. So rather than like sitting in the confusion and like asking for clarity, I'm choosing to be active and move in other directions and just see which one sticks. I have a lot of stuff to do around the house that I'm like finding myself in these activities and things that I can do around the house to keep me busy. And it's a matter of not being distracted, but keeping yourself in motion. Oh, another thing that I want to add, and this wasn't a part of my notes, but I really do feel like I need to add this to it, is make sure you're moving your body. This is probably one of the most important things that I myself have discovered. If I'm not moving my body, if I'm not working out or going on walks, or like, it doesn't have to be this intense workout all the time, but if I'm not doing something to keep my body active, my mind will go a little crazy. Your body releases dopamine when you move your body, when you exercise, and dopamine is that feel good hormone that allows your body to be like, hey, like, there's a lot more hope in the world, right? So make sure you move your body. Find time to go for a walk outside. Walks have changed my state on so many different occasions, but for me, my true, like, if I need to really have an uplift in my day, is I need to go to the gym or I need to go to a coffee shop. But like for me, more so it's the gym. And I just want to end this with some encouraging notes. The world is crazy today, but you can choose how much of the chaos you absorb every single day. And when you're intentional with your days and you choose to entertain the light side of things, it is known to have a compound effect where the rest of your mind will also adapt to more positive thinking. So choosing and being specific with what goes in your mind, consuming the right things, hanging with the right people, doing the right habits and practices, it's all going to build a better you. And so that's what the goal is. You don't have to save yourself all at once, but it is important to make sure you keep these staples in your life to keep yourself grounded so that you can be able to handle anything. Your peace will be increased when you stop allowing the world to dictate your day. So I hope that this video was helpful to you in some way. I know that these were things that you might have heard before. And if so, then may this be your sounding board to remind you to actually implement these things. Can I say a prayer for you and for myself? Let's close our eyes and just close out this episode. Lord, thank you so much for this platform, for me to be able to reach out to those who need to hear what I have to say, what you've empowered me to say, and what you've encouraged me to say today. I pray that they have open ears and wisdom to understand, a heart to receive, and the obedience to actually listen to what it is that their bodies and souls are asking for, and for them to actually act upon these things, not just hear it across a screen, but actually implement these skills and tips and tricks to ground themselves in your glory, God, in what you've created us to be. You want us to be creatives. You want us to be free thinkers. I pray that we slow down the consumption of the world and amplify your voice so that we can hear you properly and live out to our fullest potential of how you've created us to be. Thank you, Lord, for the beautiful blessing that is life, that we get to choose life or death. And I pray that today serves as a reminder that we choose life and that we're going to be intentional with how we set our days and how we choose to live out our days. Thank you, God, for everything that you do in our lives. Glory be to you. In Jesus' mighty, majestic, and matchless name, we pray. Amen. All right, guys, thank you for listening to another episode. I hope that this was helpful. I'm going to have to let you know what the new posting schedule is at this point. I do believe I'm going to start ramping up again and doing podcast episodes every Tuesday. But I'll have to let you guys know, because right now maybe the next episode I'll actually do an update on what's going on in my life, but there's just so much that I feel like I'm setting my own boundaries for myself when it comes to social media and posting and sharing. So I hope that you guys can respect that. And I will come back with more fire and more exciting topics and things to share. But as of right now, God has me set apart, and he's consecrating me for something. And I'm still trying to reestablish my stance with all of this and all of that God has given me, because yeah, that's a whole nother episode, but I will be sure to share at some point. Just need my space. And yeah, love you. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.